You know, that incredibly specific, thoroughly modern kind of frustration you get when you're interacting with a machine that you know is supposed to be brilliant.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Right. Like, you see, down at your keyboard, you spend maybe 20 minutes meticulously crafting an AI prompt. You use brackets to define
You just
variables.
specify the exact output format.
Exactly. You
Yep.
carefully delineate all the steps, you hit enter, and you lean back, just, fully expecting this perfectly tailored document to materialize on your screen.
And instead you get, well, a wall of text that is just profoundly generic.
Ugh, yes.
I mean, the grammar is flawless,
Yeah.
sure, and the formatting matches what you asked for. But the actual substance, it's useless corporate speak.
It really is. It reads like a document written by someone who has, literally never worked a single day in your industry.
It's so frustrating.
It is, and that is the exact friction point we are exploring today in this deep dive. If you've been treating prompt engineering like a complex coding language, structuring everything perfectly but still getting bland results, you are likely missing the foundational mechanism of how these models actually process language.
Yeah, you're missing the core of it.
We are diving into a piece by Aaron Rose from the Tech-Reader blog. It's titled "The Secret Life of AI: Why Your Best Prompts Fail." And our mission here is to sort of shortcut your path to becoming an AI power user.
Right, by looking under the hood of those failed interactions.
Exactly. And Aaron Rose frames this entire technical lesson through a surprisingly quiet narrative, which I loved.
Yeah, it's a great setup. He introduces us to Margaret, who is a senior software engineer, and her junior colleague, Timothy.
And they aren't in some, sterile Silicon Valley tech hub, right?
No, not at all. They are working remotely from a grand Victorian library in London. So picture heavy wooden bookshelves, complete silence, and just centuries of printed text surrounding them.
Which is such a clever contrast, placing a conversation about bleeding-edge artificial intelligence inside, a monument to static, printed human knowledge.
It really highlights the difference in how we access information.
It does, because a library is the ultimate symbol of information retrieval. You go to a specific shelf, you pull a specific book, and the information is just sitting there waiting for you.
And that setting actually perfectly mirrors the trap that Timothy falls into.
Okay, let's unpack this, because Timothy sits down across from Margaret, deeply frustrated. And he explains that he just spent 20 minutes crafting a highly structured prompt for a client proposal, only to receive absolute garbage in return.
Yeah, and his reaction is so relatable because he isn't, throwing a tantrum. It's not the hot anger of a rage quit.
Right, it's more of a cold, bewildering frustration.
Exactly. He looks at Margaret and basically says, I did everything right. I mean, he followed all the supposed rules of prompt engineering.
He defined the role, he laid out the structure, he made his request crystal clear.
But the output was still useless.
And I have been in Timothy's exact position. If the structure of his prompt was mathematically sound, and if his instructions were clear and unambiguous, why does the output fail?
Well,
Because we're sold this idea, right, that formatting and structure are the keys to unlocking AI. If the structure is perfect, the machine should do the work. Was the AI just, broken that day?
not at all. And Margaret's diagnosis completely ignores his formatting. She doesn't even ask to see the prompt.
Wait, really? She doesn't even look at it?
Nope. Instead, she asks him about the client. And it turns out Timothy has been working with this specific enterprise client for 2 years.
Oh, wow. 2 years is a lot of history.
Exactly. He knows their industry intimately. He knows the internal politics between their IT department and their finance department.
That's the stuff you can't just guess.
Right. He knows they despise marketing buzzwords. And crucially, he knows they nearly rejected a previous pitch because they felt the security protocols weren't rigorous enough.
Okay, so he has all this deep background. And Margaret then asks the defining question of the entire piece, which is, how much of those 2 years of knowledge did you put into the prompt?
And Timothy's answer is 0.
0.
What's fascinating here is that Margaret identifies this as the concept of invisible baggage.
Invisible baggage. I love that term.
It's so accurate. When you walk into a conversation, like even a conversation with a machine, you carry years of accumulated context, nuanced understanding, historical data. All of that invisible baggage silently shapes your expectations for the outcome.
Because you assume certain boundaries and preferences without ever actually articulating them. To you, they're just obvious.
Exactly. You take them for granted. But the machine walks into that chat window with absolutely none of that baggage.
It is a completely blank slate.
Mhm.
The moment you open a new chat, it doesn't have access to your inbox.
It doesn't remember that disastrous Zoom call from 6 months ago.
And it certainly cannot read your mind. It only has the literal words you just typed into the box. So Timothy realizes the prompt is only a fraction of the interaction.
Yeah, Margaret tells him the prompt is the smaller half, on a good day. What Timothy left out was the briefing.
He gave the AI a command without giving it any of the necessary ingredients to actually execute that command effectively.
Which is such a common mistake.
It is. And to understand why we all instinctively make this mistake, we have to look at the cognitive habits we've built over the last 2 decades. We are fighting our own muscle memory here.
We really are.
Because we approach these chat interfaces with a mindset that is fundamentally shaped by search engines. I mean, treating it like Google.
That's the perfect analogy.
If you think about the mental model of a search bar, you type in a few keywords, and the system fetches a pre-existing answer. We treat the AI prompt box exactly the same way.
We assume the perfect answer is just hiding somewhere inside the machine's vast database.
Right, and our prompt is just like a flashlight trying to illuminate it. But that's fundamentally misunderstanding the tool.
It is, and Margaret establishes a critical distinction to break this habit. She says, a search engine retrieves, the AI reasons.
A search engine retrieves. The AI reasons. That's a huge shift.
Huge. A search engine relies on an index of existing information. A large language model, however, is a reasoning engine. It doesn't fetch pre-written document.
It generates novel sequences of words based on probabilities.
Exactly. But reasoning requires raw material to work with. If you provide a context-free query, you are starving the reasoning engine of the parameters it needs to calculate those probabilities effectively.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is a fundamental shift in how humans interact with machines. Let's scrap the tired analogies about AI being a chef who needs ingredients.
Yeah, let's hear a better one.
Think about the difference between a librarian and an improv actor. A search engine is a librarian. You ask for a specific book on cloud computing, the librarian retrieves it. The book was already written.
Right? It's retrieval.
But an AI is an improv actor. If you push an actor onto a stage and just yell, "Be a businessman doing a cloud migration proposal," the actor has nothing to work with.
They'll freeze or they'll just fall back on stereotypes.
Exactly. They will immediately default to the most boring, generic, stereotypical version of a businessman they can imagine.
And that analogy maps perfectly onto the actual mechanics of a large language model. These models are essentially hyper-advanced prediction engines.
Right, they're calculating tokens.
Yes. They calculate the most statistically probable next token, or word, based on the context window they are provided. If your context window is virtually empty, if you just say, write a cloud migration proposal, the model searches its vast training data for the most common, statistically average sequence of words related to that topic.
It regresses to the mean.
It has to.
So it outputs that bland corporate speak because mathematically, without any specific constraints, generic buzzwords are the safest, most statistically probable sequence it can generate.
Precisely. You are giving it a massive, unrestricted probability space, so it aims right for the dead center of average.
But when you add context, when you introduce your invisible baggage into the prompt, you are drastically narrowing that probability space.
You're creating boundaries.
Yes. The model is no longer predicting the most average words on the internet. It is predicting the most probable words given a very specific, highly constrained set of circumstances.
And understanding that theory of reasoning versus retrieval leads directly to the practical application. How do we actually fix our workflow?
Well, Margaret doesn't just diagnose the problem. She gives Timothy a framework to fix it. She introduces this simple 2-step rule before hitting enter.
I love this rule.
It's so good. Step 1, what do you want? Step 2, what does the AI need to know to give it to you?
And most users just stop at step 1.
Yeah, we know we want a proposal or an email or a summary, and we just stop there.
But step 2 requires a completely different mental model. Here's where it gets really interesting. Margaret calls this ultimate mental model the capable stranger.
The capable stranger.
She tells Timothy to interact with the AI as if it were a highly intelligent, eager-to-please colleague who has just walked into the office for their very first day on the job.
Okay, so this person has exceptional, raw cognitive skills, but absolutely zero situational awareness.
Exactly. Think about a new human colleague. If I hired a brilliant human consultant, walked up to their desk on day 1, dropped a blank notepad in front of them and said, write a proposal for our biggest client, and then walked away.
They would completely fail.
They'd have no idea what to do. They wouldn't know the client's name, their risk tolerance, the project history, or the required tone.
We would never expect a human being to produce masterful work without a thorough onboarding session for the specific task at hand.
Never. Yet we expect a machine to do exactly that simply because the interface looks like a search bar.
It's that Google muscle memory again.
Right. So the Capable Stranger framework forces you to write the onboarding document before you issue the command. You have to transfer your invisible baggage into the text box.
Okay, I do have to push back on this framework a little bit, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
If we are dealing with a highly capable reasoning engine, why doesn't it behave like a capable human? Like if I give a vague command to a smart human consultant, they don't just blindly guess and hand me generic garbage.
That's true. They would ask questions.
Exactly. They stop and ask clarifying questions.
Yeah.
They say, who is the client? What is the budget? Why does the AI just plow ahead and confidently generate a useless response instead of interrogating me for the missing context?
That touches on a fundamental misunderstanding of how these models are designed to operate. The AI is a stateless system.
A stateless system.
Yeah. It does not possess an ego, it doesn't have a sense of self-preservation, and it really doesn't care about the qualitative success of the output in the real world.
It's just doing math.
Right. It is mathematically compelled to complete the prompt based on the immediate context window. It doesn't pause to reflect on what it doesn't know because its sole function is to calculate the probability of the next word based on what it does know.
Even if that knowledge is practically zero.
Exactly. It lacks the human instinct to hesitate. It just executes the math.
Wow. So that is why the responsibility falls entirely on the user to provide the boundaries.
Always. Let's look at the concrete difference this makes in Aaron Rose's text. Timothy's original failing prompt was essentially step 1 in isolation.
What was it again?
It was just write a proposal for a cloud migration.
Right. And the output was functionally useless.
But under the Capable Stranger framework, Timothy rewrites the prompt by providing the briefing first.
So here's the after example. The new prompt is, write a proposal for a client who is terrified of downtime, loves bullet points, and rejected our last bid because it felt too corporate. The goal is to reassure them about security while maintaining a highly analytical tone. Now, write a proposal for a cloud migration.
And the transformation in the output isn't magic, it is mathematics.
Because he walled off massive sections of the model's probability space.
Exactly. By providing the client's fear of downtime and their aversion to corporate tone, the AI can no longer default to generic marketing fluff.
Doing that would mathematically violate the constraints provided in the context window.
It is forced to reason through those specific parameters to generate a highly tailored, novel response.
Margaret makes an observation about this dynamic that completely shifts the paradigm of interacting with these tools. And this is a crucial point for your mindset. When the AI hands you a generic, useless response to a context-free prompt, the tool isn't actually failing.
No, it's not failing at all. The tool is succeeding perfectly at a flawed task.
It's doing exactly what it was engineered to do with the minimal data you provided.
If you input generic instructions, the system will output generic text. This shifts the locus of control and, frankly, the blame away from the machine and back onto the human operator.
Which is empowering, honestly. It stops you from throwing your hands up and declaring the technology broken.
The machine is essentially looking at you saying, I am a stranger in your office. You gave me a vague command and zero background. I gave you the statistical average of that command.
So if the output is bad, 99% of the time, your briefing was bad.
Yeah. Margaret notes that if you write a comprehensive briefing outlining the history, the tone, the constraints, the goal, and the AI still produces a poor result, then you can blame the model's capabilities.
Or adjust your structure, right?
Right. But the vast majority of prompt failures are simply context failures. Working with artificial intelligence is less about coding syntax and much more about the deeply human skill of clear, empathetic communication.
You have to be willing to explain your own assumed knowledge.
Exactly.
So, synthesizing Aaron Rose's piece into a practical rule for your daily workflow. The next time you open an AI interface, do not start with your request. Start with the context.
Yes, context first.
Empty your invisible baggage into the prompt window. Define the parameters, explain the history, dictate the tone, and only after you have fully briefed the capable stranger should you issue your command. Context dictates probability, and probability dictates the quality of your output.
It really is a habit shift. But before we wrap up, Timothy points out one lingering quirk about this entire process in the text, and it highlights a psychological trap we all fall into when dealing with language model.
Oh, right. The tone issue.
Yeah, even after he understands why his initial prompt failed, he is still frustrated by the way the AI delivered that failure.
He notes that when the AI produced the generic, useless proposal based on zero context, it didn't offer any caveats.
None.
It didn't start the document by saying, assuming standard industry practices or given the lack of specific client history. It delivered a terrible proposal with the absolute unearned authority of a seasoned expert.
This raises an important question, and it's a critical point to leave you with. Why does an AI sound so incredibly confident even when it is operating in a vacuum of specific knowledge?
Well, it goes back to the underlying mechanism, doesn't it?
It does. The model does not measure factual truth, nor does it measure its own comprehension of your specific business problem. It only measures statistical confidence in the sequence of words.
Because it has consumed billions of documents written by confident human professionals, the most statistically probable tone for a business proposal is an authoritative one.
Exactly. It mimics expertise flawlessly, regardless of whether the underlying substance is highly tailored or completely hollow.
Which means you are constantly dealing with an entity that will present mere statistical averages with the exact same linguistic certainty as profound, well-reasoned insights.
Certainty in the realm of large language models does not equal correctness. It merely equals probability.
So what does this all mean? That is a vital mental defense mechanism to carry with you. We are easily seduced by confident, grammatically perfect language. We assume that if something sounds authoritative, it must be accurate and well considered.
But when interacting with a machine, you have to actively decouple the tone from the substance.
You really do. The next time that confident, authoritative voice materializes on your screen, remember that it might just be the statistical average of the internet doing a very convincing impression of an expert. Question the certainty, and make sure you actually brief the stranger before you trust the output.